Hello and welcome to this introduction of the audit tool. In this course, I would like you to give a brief introduction on the principles of auditing that is required by EASA and how the audit tool can support you doing that. The first edition of our audit tool has come out last year and now is in the second version. Before we start, however, I'd like to give you a brief introduction on the principles of auditing. Basically, when we perform an audit, we would like to do a systematic and independent examination of all the relevant books, accounts, statutory records, documents, and vouchers of an organization to make sure that everything is true and that the regulatory requirements are met. The requirements for an aviation company are defined by EASA. Now, what is important is that you as an auditor, you perceive and recognize the propositions submitted for an organization. So when you go in, you will look at what is there, you obtain evidence, you evaluate the same, and you formulate an opinion whether the documentation that you've seen is sufficient. The principles are integrity, fair presentation, due professional care, confidentiality, independence, and an evidence-based approach. Combined with the requirements of ISO 19011, which is the requirements for a management system audit, we have combined these requirements into one tool. So basically you can see here we have the different phases in our tool. First, we begin with the planning part, where we establish an audit program. Once that is done, it is implemented. Basically, it means that you prepare the audit, you select audit team members, you select the relevant areas that you want to audit, and you prepare the questionnaires. Then you perform the audit itself and review the outcome. Once that is done, you produce a report, and that will then give the auditee an overview on what has worked and what not. Once the auditee has obtained the audit report, now it is up to him or her to review the findings and make sure that he understands the root cause. Finally, he needs to define corrective actions and implement them to make sure that the finding is closed and it will no longer occur. Now, this is done by monitoring the audit program. So you as an auditor, you will have to come back and check whether the changes are effective and have been properly implemented. Finally, you will have to review the whole program of the audit and make sure that any kind of findings for the audit programs are integrated into the next year's audit. We are focusing on ISO 19011 and also on the EASA requirements for a compliance monitoring management system. ISO 19011 is the international standard that guides the management system auditing. The standard offers 4 resources to organizations. Basically, it's a clear explanation of the principle of management system auditing. It offers guidance on the management of programs. It gives you guidance on the conduct of internal or external audits, and it gives advice on the competence and evaluation of auditors. Our audit tool covers the first 2 points, and also it gives highlights on the third. NGFT will also be able to provide training to auditors and future compliance monitoring managers. So please get back to us if you like to have specific training. So now let's go and have a look what the audit tool can do and how it is set up. It can be accessed with your username and password. Once you are in the audit tool, you can see that on the left-hand side, you have a certain role associated with your profile, and that will give you certain permissions. When we look at the different areas right here, we can see that we have followed the ISO process and also the requirements of the compliance monitoring system as required by EASA. First of all, we begin with the planning. We have divided the sections into different areas. So the audit tool currently covers all the areas that you typically have in your organization, which means AOC, SPO, COMO, MOE, and also ATO. You can add some of your own questions if you have specific questions that are important for your organization. Now, to set up an audit, it's very easy. You just choose the month where you want to perform the audit, the type of audit. Let's do a document evaluation, and you define the current objective for the EASA standards. And then you go into manuals, logs, and revisions. You choose the area and create the audit. And that's it. And then you continue by selecting questions, auditors, team members, etc. If you would like to perform audits, basically you go in, you check your audits. You have a set of questionnaires that you can send to the auditee, and then you can go through and answer the questions. Here you can see what the interface will look like. You have the EASA reference, the question, and the respective findings. You can upload evidence and create your own feedback. If you have a finding, you need to describe it, and also you need to categorize your finding in order to make evaluations later on. With regards to reports, you can check and produce different drafts. So you have here a draft. You can change it as required. You can download it, review it with the auditee, and then finalize as requested. Once the final report has been finished, the auditee is able to actually go into and analyze the findings. All the relevant information, again, is taken into the audit review process. Here you are able to analyze the root cause. So you can go through the root cause and then also, again, label the root causes for later analysis. Also in this part, you can define corrective actions and provide status reports. As the CMM, you are able to review all the findings and are able to check where the different findings are currently, meaning are they still open, are they being worked on, or are they closed. Once you're able to close an finding, you can look at the findings, look at the corrective actions, and then close the findings. Once the audit has been closed, you're able to review the findings and then download the whole package of information for your files. Everything will always be on the system, and you can access it online all the time. If you would like to have specific questions just for your organization, you can add those and set up certain areas. This means that you can customize the whole system for your needs. This audit tool includes all the required phases and conforms to the requirements of EASA. So have a look at it, get back to us, and request a free setup and a free profile so you can check the audit tool and see if it works for you. Thank you for your attention.